I just give her a wave and I'm like, oh, I just hurt my head. You know, my hand's just like soaked in blood.
You'd be surprised how many times like brides are late to their wedding.
If something goes wrong, the way you respond to that will be directly affected by your philosophy of what matters.
I've never seen a DJ do that before, and
you'll find yourself in somebody's trunk if you mess up something important. Brooks, thank you so much for joining me. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for making the time.
Yes, sir.
So this is going to be my first episode of the Not A Panda podcast series.
Love
and
it.
I'm really excited to have you on as my first guest. So thank you so much.
100%. It's a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you very much. Now, for those of you who don't know, Brooks and I worked at an event together. We did a wedding together in a backyard wedding. Thankfully, it didn't happen like the last backyard wedding that I did. It actually ended up raining, and they thankfully had prepared a little tent canopy for my setup because I require that for outdoor weddings, and that's why.
Exactly.
But they just committed. They just danced in the rain on the outdoor dance floor. Right? So yeah, exactly.
Do you have in your contract where you have to get provided those things, or like you don't need to do it if like weather?
Yes. So the way that I frame that is I will explain to them that it is ultimately the customer's responsibility to provide a location that's safe for my equipment.
Yeah.
I don't care about me on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
I'll totally DJ in the rain if all of my equipment was soundproof or like waterproofed or something. Like I would be totally fine with playing wherever, whenever.
Yeah.
I'll wear a bathing suit and perform underwater for all I care.
Yeah, right.
Like it's
full party.
Exactly. So the only thing that matters to me is making sure that the equipment is taken care of.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's how I frame it. Is I always say it's ultimately your responsibility as the customer to provide a space that is safe for the equipment. And at any time, at the DJ's discretion, the DJ, myself, will have to move equipment in order to preserve the safety and functionality of the devices.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's kind of the same with me. I think I have in my contract, but not that, specifically, but my camera and whatnot's waterproof, but once you add like flashes or the microphone to it, then it becomes, so kind of you gotta weigh your challenges around. But
absolutely, yeah, that's and contracts are always fun to work with because over time you definitely learn things where you're like, I need to prepare for that next time. Yeah, I've definitely been caught in the rain too many times where I was just like, oh, nope, I need to make sure. Thankfully, everyone that I've worked with has always been very understanding about it. No one's ever been like, you never said that you would take down your equipment once it starts raining.
No one's going to make you say,
exactly. But I'm the sort of person where I always want to make sure that I'm dotting all my I's and crossing the T's, making 100%. Sure that it's clearly stated in advance what my not contentions contingencies. Thank you. I appreciate it. I like the assist. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to always figure out is like, what can I communicate to the customer so that they know what to expect from me?
Yeah, 100%. I 100% agree. And I've had some jobs where, right after the job, you're like, oh, I need to update my contract, man.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, that did not, you need to change something about that. But
yeah,
contracts are hard.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those things that I always want to make sure that I am finding that good balance between being fair to the customer, fair to me, and not overbearing in what we have to agree to. Because for sure, there are some niche situations that I just don't want to have to like detail every single possible scenario that could ever conceivably happen.
Yeah.
But I also want to make sure that for like general stuff, like I have in my contract that if it's for a wedding and they cancel because like their fiance died, I'm more than happy to cancel, the contract for that and without any sorts of penalties. There are just certain things where I want to make sure that I'm being human first and a business owner second.
That's completely fair, and you got to cover your own ass.
Exactly. Yep. While being fair to people.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, enough about me though. Your business is Acacia Cinematography.
Yes, sir.
Where does that come from? I saw that in your history there was a gig that you did where one of the members of the couple was named Acacia.
I
Is that related?
I love the research. No, it's not at all. She actually, funny story. She actually chose my business because it was her name.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be completely honest. I was just like brainstorming for names of the company, and then randomly I was just like A's. I'm just like Acacia. I'm like that a tree. It's just like a tree. I'm just like all right.
Evergreen.
And then
I don't know if an acacia is an evergreen, but still it's got that sort of like vibrancy to it.
Yeah. And then cinematography for more video, and I thought I would do more video, so I don't know. Well, we'll have to switch it over because I'm trying to just do photos and.
So with the business of it, I saw in your bio that you said that your dad was like a super high level earned some awards.
Yeah, he's done it for a while. I think he's did it professionally a little bit there in his like early 20s, maybe early 30s. But he did a lot of landscape and a lot of stuff like that, and entered contests and won a few contests. And yeah, he's also a author right now. He's coming out with, I think, his like 4th book.
Dang.
Yeah.
He's on what subjects? Is it like fiction or something?
He does a lot of. It's. I don't know if it's nonfiction or fiction, but it's like young adult kind of, and he did like kids books, and I don't know. I think it's like kind of based on his life. I don't know if you would call that like.
There is a word for that.
Yeah, but it's like, you kind of flip the story around a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Shoot, I don't know what the there's definitely a genre for that where it's like you're making a fictional story that is inspired by the direct events of a real story that you're familiar with, especially when it's like your own, that kind of stuff. Yeah. I know that for sure there's a term for that genre, and I'll have to put in the description afterwards.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I love the research you're doing.
Thank you. I mean, if you're going to make all the effort of coming out here, I want to make sure that I'm, being respectful for you.
I really appreciate that. Yeah.
So did your dad's experience as a photographer have an influence? Because I saw that you had you said that you've had a camera in your hand since you were like 8 or something. So like
right
it's just always been a part of your life.
It honestly has. Ever since I was little, I grew up with a camera in my hands. And then once I hit high school, I don't know, somehow being a teen, I just didn't touch one for a while. And then probably a year or two ago, it wasn't even my friend, it was an acquaintance, like invited me to a car show. And I took my camera. I was like, why not? Take my camera. I fell in love with it again. I was like, man, I want to do this for a while, Yeah. And then I was like, all right. And then I kept on going to car meets, and there's only so many pictures you can take of cars,
Decidedly. Yeah. At some point, you got to level up from there.
Yeah, exactly. So then I just got into street photography a lot, and I love it. It's great getting the people's, faces taking a picture. Ethics come in the way a little bit, but
right.
That's everybody. And then I started just marketing myself, trying to find jobs, and on Thumbtack, nonetheless. That's how I got my first couple of jobs.
That's where I got a lot of my work for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. And from there, it's just been amazing, and I've been. It's been a journey, to say the least. It's been an amazing journey getting to do things like this,
Right. Yeah. No, it's a different world for sure.
Oh yeah.
With the work that you've been doing as a photographer, how has that affected your relationships with people? Like, do they like ask you for favors to take pictures of them? Do they see you as just like Mr. Photographer now?
100%. Especially this past month or two, ever since everybody knows what I'm doing now, because not that type of person that just blasts it on their social media and whatnot. But yeah, it started. But the good things come from it. Like my aunt, she's a big like hunter and that whole side. So she went to Africa, and when she went there, she bought like all these cameras and whatnot.
Right.
And I got them. Like she's gonna give them to me, and very, very nice cameras from like 10 years ago. They're very expensive 10 years ago, and now they're even still expensive.
Yep. Oh man, what's the biggest favor anyone's asked of you? Like as a photographer? like where they were expecting that you would do it just as a friend or something?
I don't know if they were expecting me to do it just as a friend, but definitely not pay me a lot. But my sister-in-law, I'm not married, but I call it my sister-in-law. They're planning on getting married next summer, so they kind of implied that for me to do it. But I'd rather me doing it. I don't even care about it. It's what I love to do. So but I would rather me doing it for free than having to sit there watch some person with a $50 camera. That's a hard thing to watch when I've had a couple second shooters where I'm just like, do you really think you should be there right now?
Right.
But hey, it's everybody's. It's hard because it's subjective.
I've definitely had those moments from my perspective as a DJ where I'm watching one of the media producers of an event, and I'll just be like, I feel like I should be watching that right now. Call me crazy, but that seems to be a higher priority than the candid you're looking at over there. Like there's an event happening, but I don't want to criticize anybody else's profession, obviously. So I never say anything, but I've had those moments where I wonder.
You never know who's listening.
Right,
that's the hard part.
Okay, so you had a certain philosophy that your dad shared with you that has carried on to how you approach your kind of mindset as a photographer.
Yeah.
And with that, there's photographer, videographer, right? You do both. Is it fair to describe you as being like a candid specialist?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I can 100% like pose people and do all that, but I find that even the best pictures like in that, like I did an engagement shoot like last weekend, and it's the pictures that aren't posed, that are natural in motion, because
the surprise.
If you have models that know how to like, put in a natural smile and whatnot, it's going to look good. But normal people usually just, they're going to look awkwardly at the camera, and then, you gotta have some humor to you, and then make them laugh or, say something. You can't be afraid to make a fool out of yourself sometimes,
Yeah. No, you have to be willing to look silly in some cases, but I've definitely found on my end of it that when you can surprise a customer with something that excites them, that's the stuff that really creates those good bonds and those fond memories. So I'm sure there are definitely times like that where you're like, oh, they are gonna freak out when they see this picture. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And they don't even know you took that picture,
Right. They're like, how did you get that?
Exactly. And I mean, it's kind of the same with you, you'll be out on the dance floor, getting people moving, I love that. I've never seen a DJ do that before, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
I love getting out and dancing with people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always exciting. I have a few different like gags that I'll bring out sometimes. I have like a Afro wig that I'll throw on for. I only do it given certain circumstances. I won't do it for like every single party, but I'll play it. I'll wear that and go out with like sunglasses and stuff and do some disco dance moves on the dance floor. If it seems like everything is being lighthearted, if there's not like a serious moment going on, if it's not going to distract from something more important, like if the couple is trying to go around and interact with people and have some intimate conversations, if the energy is kind of winding down a little bit, where there's a lull, maybe some more people are going off to the bar or off to the restroom or off to like outside to chat with their friends, something like that. So I just do that as a way to kind of re-inject some energy, as long as it doesn't distract from more important things. That's always been my mindset on the entertainment side of the profession of being a DJ. Is I always want to make sure that I'm never taking away from the more important thing, which is the couple and their relationship with their guests.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Especially with weddings, it's so important, because I think that's where a lot of entertainment specialists get it wrong, is that they think that they are hired to be the main attraction of every party that they ever do. They think they're the main attraction of birthdays. They think they're the main attraction of weddings, and you're not. Your job is to create fun memories between the host and their guests. at every single party you do. Now, sometimes the way they want to do that is by making you the main attraction. But you have to know in the back of your head, the higher priority, even if they put your name on the ticket to sell at the door of a club, the priority is the club's relationship with their guests, not
100%.
the guest's relationship with you. So at all times, no matter who's hiring you, your goal is to always create good memories that make people enjoy the host more than they did before they showed up.
Never even thought about that. That's such a great logic to follow. Is that the professional term for DJ, entertainment specialist?
So that's a higher hierarchy of categorization. So DJs, magicians, singers, musicians, it doesn't matter what. Just if you are someone who collects money in exchange for wowing an audience in any capacity, you are not the reason you got hired. You were hired because the person hiring you believed that you could make their guests like them better. That's it.
Fair.
That is always the case, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's even if the couple themselves for a wedding say that they hired you because they were just so impressed with your social media presence of like, I saw this cool transition you did as a DJ, and I know that you're the guy who's going to get our vibe. You're the person who clearly you know what you're doing, all that kind of stuff. They can be impressed with you, and that's great.
Yeah.
But the reason that mattered to them is because they want you to represent them well to their guests. They want you to play the music that's going to get their guests to have a good time with them. A lot of times these are synergistic, where you can put on an incredible performance, be the center of attention, and that's what the couple wanted, to have a great time. But the reason I always want to stress and emphasize the fact that this is the hierarchy that you're trying to keep in mind at all times is because that can help you with the improvisational decisions, where it's like if something goes wrong, the way you respond to that will be directly affected by your philosophy of what matters.
I see.
So let's say, for instance, that, you know, if I'm performing at a wedding and somebody trips on their way to come up to the microphone for the speeches, okay? If something like that happens, if I believe that I'm the center of attention, then I might be more inclined to make a joke at the expense of the person who tripped, right? In the event that that sort of thing happens, and I do that, and it embarrasses the person, that is going to create a overall net negative experience, not only for the guests, but also for the couple, because that's their friend or family member or someone precious to them, especially if it's someone giving a speech, you know it's close to the couple at that point.
Yeah.
So if I believe that getting a laugh because I want to be the center of attention is the most important thing, I will be more inclined to do cringy, embarrassing things that are at the expense of the guest or the host.
Yeah.
If, however, I come at it from the other mindset of saying my goal is to figure out whatever I have to do to help the host and their guests have a stronger relationship with one another, I might still try to be funny, but I might do it in a way that welcomes everyone to come into the joke together instead of being at the expense of the person and embarrassing them.
Yeah.
So I might, for instance, say something like, calling out on the microphone, oh, what, did somebody trip him? You know, is there a foul on the play? I actually have like a yellow foul flag that you would see at like football games and stuff. And so I might pull that out and like throw it out and be like, there's a 10-yard penalty, table 8, 10 yards, you know, defense.
Yeah, stuff like that just makes the night, so much better.
Yeah.
Just the little jokes in the middle.
Well, yeah, and just making a priority of making sure that everyone feels included in the fun.
Yeah. 100%.
So speaking of stories of things, what has been one of the crazier things that's happened to you in your experience so far? What's that kind of thing?
You'd be surprised how many times like brides are late to their weddings.
No kidding.
Yeah, it happened again for like the fourth time to me like 2 weeks ago, or they're like an hour and a half late. I mean, it's their wedding, it doesn't matter, but
I mean, nothing starts without them.
I know, exactly, but it's it's the venue, you have everybody there, you're paying, and so it's a whole thing that if we go over, you got to pay us more, and it's rough sometimes. Yeah, I thankfully haven't had to deal with too many like bridezillas. Only time will tell, right?
Absolutely. I have a theory about bridezillas.
Mm-hmm.
So I firmly believe that what a bridezilla is a bride who does not have faith in the people and vendors around her that they care about her wedding as much as she does.
Fair.
The reason that because I've done about 170 weddings or so, something like that. And in that whole time, I've had 2 brides, I would say 3 brides that were very micromanaging, and 2 of them were what I would describe as being to the level of like being able to be called a bridezilla.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The reason why for me it has been that infrequent is because I believe I do a very good job of instilling confidence in myself that they can trust me. They don't have to worry about. I always frame it as saying, you can feel like you're allowed to be a passenger in your wedding instead of feeling like you have to be the driver at your wedding.
Love that idea. I love that more than hating on the bride.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. It's like I've never had a bride, even with the 2 that I would call a bridezilla. I understand where they're coming from, and every time it's happened to me, I have always observed that it is because they are very afraid that somebody's going to drop the ball because they just didn't put in the work to actually excel at their job.
Yeah.
Now, once you get into like upper echelons of people who are paying, thousands of dollars per vendor, that's where you really start to get into a point where
just trust issues at that point.
Yeah. Like I was talking to a photographer who said that the biggest wedding that they had done was like $250,000. They said it was like $250,000 for the wedding for between like the venue and all the vendors and everything else. That was just crazy. Mostly the venue, I'm sure. So like they paid crazy money for that. And you better believe that couple cares a lot about the small details.
Oh yeah, they're gonna pay that much for it.
Yeah, you are. I mean, you'll find yourself in somebody's trunk if you mess up something important.
Yeah, right.
No, but that's my thoughts on the bridezilla situation. I'm firmly convinced that the reason it happens is because of a bride who just has a really hard time believing that other vendors and guests care about the experience of her wedding as much as she does.
I feel like a lot of time, I mean, this is what I've seen, like vendors take a lot of things to heart, no matter like, people will tell you some that you should be over there, take a picture, blah, blah, blah. And then they have this, chip on their shoulder the whole night.
Yeah.
I hate to criticize, but there's this guy the other night, and he was a photographer, and I was working video, and he was just in the corner, like arms crossed, looked all angry, not even looking for a picture. I'm like, such a nice guy and whatnot. I'm just like it just doesn't put on a good look.
You should be very careful about approachability as a vendor. Yeah,
especially if you're doing something as like personal as photography or video, because half the time you're in people's face, and if they don't like you, you're not going to get a good picture half the time.
Nope.
So
yeah, there has to be some energy, some chemistry there for sure.
Yeah.
Do you ever get tips as a photographer?
Yeah, I did this thing with my invoices where I go through Pixieset and it like puts up that screen like how much do you want to tip?
Oh,
like
yeah.
10%, But sometimes I feel like sometimes I won't put it because they tip me in cash, or I feel like I don't deserve to get tipped, sometimes. But
I get you. I get you. Yeah.
Sometimes I don't like when I get asked that at like fast food places,
Definitely.
But it definitely brings in quite a bit more revenue, getting those tips and whatnot.
Absolutely. So if you're a little bit more squeamish on like injuries and things, I don't want to press too far into it, but I'm always fascinated by scar stories.
Okay.
So do you have any like scar stories that you want to talk about?
You know, I have one, like, I don't even know. I forget what eye it was, but I busted my eyelid open one time in basketball. I think it was like junior year, right?
Yeah.
And it was my own teammate. I ran into his chin. I have a video. Like, I literally turned around and his chin was right there. And my eye like went into his chin. Anyways, busted it open, like blood gushing all over my red or white jersey and everything. And like it didn't even hurt. I was just mad I was out. And so like we couldn't get it to stop bleeding. And so my parents had to like super glue it together.
Yeah.
Oof.
Well,
Rough.
face injuries are the worst because
they don't stop bleeding.
Yeah, you have so much blood
Oh
up
my
here.
gosh. No, but I've not much. I've had like you know, busted lips and not many fights. Not any fights really. You know.
Do you have any? Have you ever gotten stitches or like?
No stitches,
Really?
no broken bones, no.
Wait, how old are you?
20. Yeah.
Dang.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Crazy?
I mean, congrats.
Me nor my sister has ever had. I guess it was one of my parents' goals, but I don't know. We're always doing dangerous stuff. We did 4-wheelers and sports and you name it. Never
somehow managed to.
Never. I mean, I've had my fair share of no broken bones. I've had my fair share of fractures or whatnot. Like I've had when I did track, I was a big track and field guy.
That'll do it.
I had shin splints really bad.
Okay.
And they said it was like either inflamed or like slightly broken, like a hairline fracture. One hurt like hell though every time I did anything. Like even like stepping on the gas in the car would hurt, and it was just like it was rough. And then I quit.
Did you ever end up getting anybody with like meniscus injuries? Because I feel like every other month when I was going through high school, I heard about somebody getting injured on the meniscus. That's something about your kneecap or something.
Oh, in basketball we had a lot of those. It was called something knee. I think like our knee, but you would put like medical not tape but bandage. You would roll it up and put it right up below your knee, and it would do something for I forget, but
stability,
a bunch of the
I'm sure.
a bunch of the kids on the basketball team had it. But basketball, a lot of injuries. Rolled ankles.
I'm guessing they probably use
something.
the same tape that like boxers would use on their hands and stuff.
Yeah, and what else do we use it for? I had a bunch of stuff wrong with me.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think my ankles. They used it for my ankles, but anyways,
Dang.
yeah, I was a big sports guy. And then I don't watch it at all, but I played a lot. I was like the captain of the track and field team, and yeah. So that was a lot of fun. You had any?
So I've had 3. I will give you your choice between them, and then I'll give out one per guest. So I have one that's underneath my eye, just straight across.
I see.
I have one that is a couple of inches long on my elbow, and then I have one that just goes straight across the head.
I want to hear about the head.
Okay. So, before getting into it, I have to preface it. Okay. Have you ever known anyone who got staples in their head? Because that's what you have to do.
No, I couldn't tell you.
So, I don't know the exact reason. I think it's that you can't suture head wounds because like you have to be careful about stabbing the brain, basically. So they used a medical staple gun so that you just don't have to worry about that at all. Because of that, there was a time when I was swapping scar stories with a group of friends online, and we go around and I ask people to share their staple stories specifically. And I always start here because I want to make sure that we're framing the significance of this. So one person shares their story about how their dad got in a car wreck, a car accident, like had to go to the hospital because of a car accident.
Yeah,
and he ended up getting 4 staples in his head from that. Another kid had another kid like throw a rock at their face way too hard, and they got like 6 staples.
Brutal.
So
a rock at the face?
Yeah. It just absolutely just destroyed their face. I used to go to this church that rented out a school auditorium. Okay. And the school in question had this sloped auditorium with like chairs and things, because it was like a big old theater kind of situation. They probably had the best theater for any high school there because of the fact that their school was on a mountain and they could just have this like really cool downhill sort of auditorium. It was great. At the stage, there was an orchestra pit that had a grate covering the orchestra pit to make sure that nobody could fall in from the stage into the orchestra pit. This metal grate was designed in a way that it comes out and then down at a slant following the trajectory of the staircase as you descend into the orchestra pit.
Gotcha.
But that also means that now it's facing towards you as you are ascending back up the staircase.
Ah.
You can see where this is going.
Yeah.
Me, as a child, I am running around chasing my younger brother. I'm about 6 to 8 inches taller than said younger brother. So we're running around making a ruckus. He dashes down into the orchestra pit. I chase in after him full speed ahead. He zip zooms up the staircase on the other side, and I go at the same pace he did. But I underestimate how much taller I am than he was. So I just full speed charge headfirst into the angled grate. And the metal grate does not move. It's where it is. And my head did. So I had just this incredible whiplash incident. I see white for like 3 seconds and stumble out of the orchestra pit the last couple of steps. I sit down and hold my head for a while because I'm seeing stars. And my brother comes over and he's like, "Whoa, are you okay?" Because like that sounded like it really hurt. I was like, I'm fine. This is just, don't worry about it. And I look up at his face, and he's got this like horrified expression. He goes, "Don't move. I'm gonna go get mom. You stay right there." So he goes off. I'm just watching him go, and I'm like, "What? Oh no!" And my head is just soaking with blood at this point.
Oh Lord.
We go to the hospital. And we go up to the emergency room counter. I'm holding my head, and she's asking her polite questions of like, "What are you here for?" And I just give her a wave, and I'm like, "Oh, I just hurt my head. My hand's just like soaked in blood." I have a very high pain tolerance.
Yeah.
So I do not react to pain the way that you're supposed to for the level of injury that you have.
Yeah.
Which means that it's very easy for medical professionals to underestimate how much I am in trouble.
Yeah.
So I had to make a real exaggerated show of like what the problem really is here because I'm not crying about it.
Yeah.
I'm not yelling in pain, anything like that.
Yeah.
So we go into the we get expedited in the emergency queue. And so we go into a room. Eventually the doctor finally sees us and 13 staples. 13 bad boys all
That's
across
not
the head.
fun at all.
That took months to stop bleeding.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, like every now and again, it would just pick back up again. So
See, I have a high pain tolerance, but a very low tolerance for blood. I will. Yeah, not fun. Not fun.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
It is. It's fun.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I had it wasn't really an injury. It wasn't that bad, but I did track and I ran like the 100 meter, the sprint, half or a quarter lap sprint. And, or maybe it was a 200. Anyways, I forget. I was in the lead and then I started swimming. Like I started falling, like, swimming and then I like did a somersault, fell directly on my back into like, I don't even know if it's asphalt, but the pebbles and whatnot. Yeah, not fun. Anyways, I won. I like my team coach had to like take tweezers and pick out from my back. Which I mean, it wasn't that bad because all the adrenaline was flowing through, but yeah, that was not fun.
No, that's rough. Yeah, man.
in the like a rug burn almost on it too. Yeah,
totally worth for victory though.
Totally worth it. I think that was
100%.
like one of the only races I've won like full on.
Yeah,
but was it worth it? Probably. But.
Honestly, yeah. If you're gonna injure yourself and get a story out of it, might
as well do it young, right?
Yeah, while you're young and while you are proving your championship.
Yeah.
Earlier, I had mentioned that you were a candid photo specialist, and that was by a guiding principle. But I realize now that I never did have you state what the actual philosophy, like, principle was that you're following there.
I forget what
So,
he or what I actually like put on, but I know there's like this very famous saying, like, create, don't produce. And then there's like,
I think if I'm remembering it right, it was something along the lines of like the best moments aren't posed, but they're captured.
That's it. That's yeah. That was on my website. You're completely correct, and you have a better memory than me, even though in my own writing.
To be fair, I probably looked at it more recently than you have. So.
But yeah, I've just always lived that. I've always been like kind of a shy person, to say the least. Kind of just like being the fly on the wall and whatnot, and that's what I tried to do when I was first getting into it, and then. I don't know. I kind of got into this like flow state. I just like taking pictures, not being, because I used to care a lot what people thought about me. But, once I got that camera in my hands, it really just doesn't matter anymore for me, which is awesome. It's such a freeing feeling,
It's like the superhero mask.
Exactly. Exactly. You hide behind the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then as that evolves, I'm still like, capture and like candid stuff like that, but I'll get into people's faces a lot more and almost take like a more risky approach to it. Like they could 100% be like, get out of my face, slap my camera and and half the time I'd be like, yeah, that's fair, because I have my camera and then I have my flash I usually hold that's like really bright, you know, and so it's always a balance. I haven't had anybody tell me like, oh, it's way too bright, like get out of my face. I haven't had anybody do that yet or anybody complain too much. But yeah, man, it's a journey. It's a very eventful, fun journey that I never thought I'd be on. Honestly, I never thought I'd be like an event photographer or a wedding photographer. I guess it just like it developed into that from cars and into that.
Yeah. So that actually leads me into the next thing I wanted to bring up, which is what comes after. Like so I have two parts. First is what is the next milestone that you're looking towards? Like, so you came from a point of just being familiar with cameras to then utilizing them in a professional way to now using them for like more major events.
Yeah.
What comes next? Is there some level of recognition you're looking towards? Is there some level of I want to be able to capture events at this kind of a place? What's a big milestone?
I haven't really thought about it that way. My goal with the event and whatnot, and I love it. It's such a great, wonderful job, but it's mostly for the money. I like everything is. Now street photography and like actual like just can't like capturing like actual life. That's something I could see myself striving for a lot more. But even on social media and whatnot, I never really look for follower goals or like goals or like that. Those are never my goals. I don't know. Maybe win an award like my dad one day. But never. I never even crossed my mind, making more money, making like this much at a wedding, 10 grand at a wedding,
right.
Something like that. Don't even think about it, honestly.
Well, even disregarding the money side of it, what would you consider to be like levels of photography for between where you are and what you would consider to be like the ideal point? Because I imagine you're not quite where you think you could be if you take this far enough.
Yeah.
So what does a bigger Brooks look like? What does Acacia evolve into?
That's a great question. Me and my mom's a businesswoman, and she always talks about growing and getting like another photographer, and like I don't really know.
Let me see if I can maybe help narrow down.
Yeah, I'll walk myself in circles for a while.
No worries. So I'm a YouTube junkie. I've watched so many videos, and I have the kind of neurotic disposition that will focus a lot on
I
like
love YouTube.
the process of how they make it and,
Yeah,
like what
yeah.
they're doing on a more meta cognitive level.
I
So
love all that too. Yeah.
there's a YouTube channel called Devin Supertramp,
Okay.
and he is a professional videographer, or at least was when he started, from what I can tell. And the reason that I found him was because he did videos of just people doing, I'll call it extreme fun. Instead of like extreme sports, it's like extreme fun.
Okay.
So it'd just be things like people finding the tallest water slide down a mountain that they could go down, or something crazy, you know, something like having a citywide water gun event where there was like a big old park and they just had like hundreds of people show up with water guns, and they treat it like a paintball competition where they're all like running around with these water guns, and like, you know, they were doing military dives and stuff through, and they had like all these inflatable buildings that they could hide behind and all that, and they would have like barrels of water that they could recharge their super soakers in. So it was such a cool event concept.
Yeah.
There was another one where they did this natural arch, like a very tall natural arch, and they staked down a rope swing system so that they could then just do like, they would literally just run off the side of the arch and then do this giant swing that would go like, you know, like 100 feet each way, kind of a thing. So it was just, these sorts of wild situations. And so he's technically a videographer. Yeah. But he would make these videos of just these really entertaining events where you would watch it and you'd be like, I might not do some of these, but a lot of this is stuff where I'm just like, man, I would love to do something like that. There's a channel that I always like to bring up called Vihart. It's like Vihart. She does artistic illustrations of mathematical ideas. And so she would do like arts and crafts to prove a point, or she would just use like gumdrops.
Interesting. Okay.
There was a time when she expressed the idea of a Mobius strip, which is like that's where you have a circle but it twists at one point. So that's like infinite. And so she to illustrate that concept, she actually took a music box, which has like, if you don't know how music boxes work, they have like these prongs where it'll be a sheet of paper that has holes in it, and the holes will cause one of the prongs to flip, and that's what makes the different notes come out. And so that's how you would design a music strip for the music box. And so she took a music strip and folded it into a Mobius strip so that you would hear the song play out constantly, but it would do it like in reverse or upside down or whatever. And so it was just this really fascinating way to illustrate the idea. And so the reason I bring up these examples is because sometimes you can take the idea that you're looking at, like for instance with Vihart, she's technically a math teacher, but she likes art and she's an artsy craftsy kind of a person. And so what she did is she took something that she enjoyed on a personal level and she combined it with the things she does on a professional level. I see what you're saying. So the reason I bring that up is because there's two different directions that I can see any professional going in. The first is becoming the specialist of the thing that you want to be extremely good at. You're like the guy that people hire. You are the company that people hire when they want to have a mechanical engineer for underwater mechanical repairs, right? Where it's like, it's not just specifically mechanical repairs. It's you are the guy for underwater jobs specifically. Yeah. If someone wants to pay top dollar to make sure it just gets done right the first time, you're the guy they hire. So that's one road that you can go down. The other road is the combination of things like with Vihart. Right? So in Vihart's case, she took different things between her skills, her passion, her interests, her talents, and she just tried to make a fun combination that felt right for who she is as a person. So with that in mind, is there anything that you have to decide between? Because like there was a violinist who once got interviewed for being a world-class violinist. I can't remember her name off the top of my head anymore, but they asked her why she believed she was so renowned as she was. Yeah. And her answer was because she said, I am a violinist. Not I play violin, not I'm a master violin player or anything like that. She just said, that's what I am as a person. There's other things I could have done with my life.
Mm-hmm.
I had opportunities. But every day when I wake up, when I structure my day, the things that I eat, the time that I wake up in the morning, the places that I go, all revolves around the idea of me being a violinist, that like at my core. So that's like the specialist route of like that kind of thing. So those are the two paths that I see for professionals, is either being the specialist where that's the thing you do, or the combination. And my curiosity then is, do you have other things that you're trying to like combine, or that you can see yourself combining, or do you think that you would go down more of the specialist route and just be extremely good at like a thing?
I guess a combination of the two, because I could definitely see myself, and I imagine myself to be like, not to be cocky, but like the person to go for like, candid photography or whatnot, you name
Having
it.
goals isn't cocky.
Yeah, exactly, right? And then I could see the other part, like I was saying before, I like street photography and whatnot. And like to combine, I guess that's combining, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I could definitely see myself doing that a lot more. But in the sense of like getting paid, that's the other thing. Like, would I even want to get paid for that? Would it take away like the magic from it? Because that's why I felt like did somewhat happen when I started getting paid, like to take pictures of events and whatnot. Kind of loses but at some point I just like kind of not forgot about the money, but like didn't even care about the money at one point, Well,
there are ways that you can get around that of doing content for free while having your like day job, as a photographer. Is that, do you think that's ever something that you would do? Of,
of
like
100%.
going around just doing free photos downtown or something? Because I know there are channels like that online as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I've seen people do that. I was just talking about this the other day. That just bring their camera with an iPad tethered up to it and just take pictures of random people. As it was at like the Kentucky Derby or something. And they just like show them to them, and they're like, "Oh, give me this picture," and they're like $20. Right. I was just like, "Okay, that's nothing." I can never see myself doing something like that. It just like almost seems a little cheap to me. I've done like, I'm coming back from an engagement shoot, and there's just this random couple like trying to take a selfie on their phone, just can't get it. I'm just like, I'll take your pictures for you. I don't, and they always ask like, oh, how much do I need to pay you? Blah, blah, blah. I'm just like,
Everyone assumes there's a catch.
Yeah, and fair too, obviously. And then there's this other very interesting thing that happened actually. I was doing this engagement shoot, like surprise engagement shoot, and then while we're going around after the engagement and taking like portrait photos, this other couple was like, oh my gosh, like our photographer like just had a car crash and like couldn't make it for the surprise proposal, which is hard because it only happens once. So they were like not begging, but like please like take our pictures and whatnot. And I was like, all right, sure, I'll do it. It took me like 5 minutes, and a lot of people would try to take advantage of them for that, which is I don't appreciate. But,
right.
I didn't. I was just they offered to pay me, and I was like, man, I'm already here. Just give me like 2 reviews on Google, like from each of them. I'm just like, perfect. That's worth a lot more than a lot of people think.
I think there are a lot of people who underestimate the value of looking for non-monetary compensation. And are willing to negotiate for something that's satisfying for them. For example, there was an event that I recently did for technically for free, like without dollar compensation. And the reason that I agreed to that is because it was for like a professional networking event. And they did not have a budget to be able to hire me to come out as an entertainment provider. But what they did have was access to other high value like networking opportunities. And so what I said was, all right, well, I will, instead of getting paid for this, give me a certain number of tickets to future events that I can either go to myself or I can invite people to. That way I can leverage access instead of money. So I think what happens a lot of times is people get so caught up, probably just because of the looming consequences of having a lot of bills.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stress that comes with that. But if you can step out of that and try to have like a more zoomed out macro perspective, there are plenty of things like reputation, like access, like resources that are more valuable than the dollars you would have gotten by getting paid.
100%.
I think where it tends to go wrong is that sometimes people get afraid of getting taken advantage of. Like you have clubs that'll say like, oh, just do it for free for the exposure. And it's like, well, what I always tell people these days is I don't need exposure.
Yeah.
I don't. I make my own exposure. You know, if I need more, I'll just make more content. You know, like
and half the time, like exposure nowadays is like nothing, like nothing to some, like you were saying, like that you can create yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So exposure is meaningless. The thing that matters more is gaining access, gaining resources, or gaining some kind of reputation that is more tangible.
100%. Yeah, I mean, if you get one good like referral and just like one person like knows you really well, and that's just like all they know you for, you're gonna get a lot of jobs from that. You know,
absolutely.
Just referrals are the best way to go for anything like that. You know, I would say, because it's just like from a trusted source. I worked at Home Watch. I used to do Home Watch back in Naples, where you used to just like go into snowbirds' houses, take pictures, blah blah blah. Anyways, I learned a lot from that job, especially the owners. And he said, a lot of our advertisement just doesn't work. Like mailers don't work. No one reads them. And you pay like, I don't know, hundreds of dollars to send mailers to these houses. They just don't work.
It used to be a lot more effective than it is today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when you read an offer and you're like, I am nowhere close to your target market for this. Like, if someone's like, you know, trying to send me a mailer for a boat, and I'm like, I am so far away from that, my dude. Like, that is nowhere even remotely close to my reality right now. Yeah, those are fun.
Do you see that? Sorry to get off topic, but I think it was like a year or two ago that maybe longer, but Target sent out this like ad for pregnancy, something like baby bottles or something, to this one daughter of this guy.
Oh, no.
The guy sued, and then they found out she was actually pregnant, the teen daughter. And then so like the advertisement,
like, how do you know?
Yeah. So that was the whole thing. Yeah, man. So it's just like they know, and now they're doing stuff. I'm really into all that, and now they're doing like the dynamic pricing. Yeah. So they like change it no matter, like depending on who's like at the shelf. You know, it might change from like, you know, $2 if you're like, you know, a single mother that has no money, and then go up to yeah. And they started doing it at like Wendy's first, I think, but that was more like traffic and not like who you are. But in the supermarkets, they can like, you know who you are, and like if you make this much money, and they try to like, their goal is to make you pay as much as you are willing to pay.
Yes,
you know, so.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like there should be something around that to stop it, but you know.
It definitely sounds fraudulent or like discriminatory. There's something there,
or just non-ethical in you know, any way.
Yeah, it's 100%.
Yeah.
That gets into AI territory, and that's its own conversation.
Yeah, that's its own podcast, right?
Yeah. Okay, so part 1 was the next step in terms of like your professional growth with, you know, next goals and all that kind of stuff of where you're headed. The second half of that same idea is what comes after photography for you. So is this something that you want to do until your dying day? Is it something that you're like, I want to reach a certain point and then pivot into something else? Is there anything that's like that where you're like, maybe someday I'll get around to doing something else?
Honestly, right now, I can't see myself doing much else than this. I was a business major in college. I dropped out last semester. Okay. So yeah, that. Yeah. So I definitely put my all into this, and you know, I love what I do. You know, just the days I have off, I just take random pictures on my film camera, and it's something that I love to do, and I love to learn the history about it. I love to just basically anything with cameras or photos I love at the moment. So I don't know, might change in the future, might become like my dad and write books, but
Yeah.
I can never imagine myself seeing that. Books are hard for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's a whole other animal for sure.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a lot of focus and dedication that you have to have for like really, you really have to want it, because there's most of the time, as far as what I've seen from writers, most of the time you don't feel like writing.
Yeah,
And so like you
yeah.
have to be that sort of like, you have to have that clear vision of what you want and the dedication
You
to
know,
do
with
it.
photography,
wanna-
yeah, 100%. With photography, I like the aspect of like humans and like emotion in it. You know, if
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever get into it if, well, this is what I did when I was little, but just take pictures of like landscapes and whatnot. What made me really fall in love with it was like a picture of a car, like at the car meet, with a person like doing something in that picture, and like that kind of, made the picture for me. Is you know
Yep.
what I'm saying? So if I honestly can't see myself ever just like not having a camera near me now. You know,
Understandable.
I can see myself, in my good 80s, hopefully pray 90s,
Yeah.
with a camera in my hand. So yeah, 100%. I love it. I love what I do, and I can imagine honestly having any career other than this at the moment. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
No,
It's a
it's
dream come
great when you
true.
find your
It's a
passion like
dream
that.
come true. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
You know, that reminds me of when you were saying that you had dropped out of business school. There could not be a more valid reason to drop out of school than to go and do the thing that the schooling was talking about. So
Yeah.
it's like to drop out of
Yeah.
business school so that you can go and start a business. I
Yeah.
feel like that's pretty valid.
Exactly. And my degree was I was going into was entrepreneurship. So,
Yeah.
kind of literally, my one goal going into college was I didn't want to work for anybody else. I didn't want to clock in at a time, and I've succeeded,
If I may, what I always try to tell people is that you are always working for yourself. The only difference is the kind of contract that you're working under.
Fair.
So when you're working as a grocery store clerk, you're still representing your brand.
Mhm.
You have just chosen to do your name LLC, and you are working under a W-2 contract where there are stated terms for how much you are willing to sell your time worth.
Mhm.
It is not, you should never look at it as working for somebody else is them choosing what to pay you. You are
Yeah.
telling them, I am willing to sell my time for this amount of money.
Well, I would say it's less that and more like you can choose who you want to work with.
Yes.
I think that's a bigger part than what I said before, is like choosing your clients and choosing, because I don't know, man, if I was forced to work with clients that I've declined before,
Right.
it would be a completely different business. I would definitely dislike it a lot more than I do now. So
Well, I think people, like both bosses and employees, would have a much better relationship with one another if they looked at it that way. Because right now we have more of a lord and serf style of like saying there is the manager who is, the god of their kingdom.
Yeah.
They are the god king. They can just choose whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
And then you have the waifs and serfs and stuff who have to serve the lord, and that they get to just do whatever they need to do to make their superior happy. And that's caused such a problem with the work culture in a lot of places, because you have these bosses who get tyrannical, you have employees who get spineless, and you end up having these like passive aggressive employees who know that they're being mistreated, and they know that they can't stand working the way that they've been working. And a lot of the time, they know a simple thing that could be changed in order to improve it, but they aren't willing to engage with that because most of the time, the biggest issue is that they don't have the abundance mindset that they can get a job anywhere.
Yeah.
And so
especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
everybody's afraid.
yeah, my sister just graduated Lynn University with her forensic science degree.
Mm-hmm.
She's applied to many, many jobs and can't even hear back from one of them. So just like even with that college or schooling, like you really nowadays it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter much at all. You're paying for a paperweight.
Well, even with a lot of like the coding jobs that you would get at like Silicon Valley kind of stuff between Google or Facebook or whatnot, a lot of the times they'll actually hire someone who has a proven track record of experience over someone who has a schooling experience. So like if you have somebody who they built their own website, they built their own app, something like that, they are more likely to get a job than someone who has gone to school for it. And this is something that, of course, school is never going to teach you because this is not in their best interest too. But there is a place for contemporary education, and there's a I would say most people are not built to be entrepreneurs, but that doesn't mean that they should look at themselves as being at the whim of the people they work for. I feel like if everyone looked at it as I am working for My Name Incorporated, I'm working for John Smith Incorporated, I'm working for Sally Jane Incorporated. If everyone was to perceive themselves that way, I think that we would have a much healthier job market because if you are representing yourself as a brand, you're more willing to ask yourself, how does my brand behave under these conditions? How does my brand expect people to treat them? How does my brand have work integrity, right? Because now it's no longer I'm just taking whatever I can get until I have to clock out. Now it's my brand is worth a certain amount of money an hour. My brand is worth a certain expectation of treatment. My brand delivers a certain baseline of quality. And it doesn't matter where I work. It doesn't matter if I'm getting underpaid. I have a certain value that I bring to the table no matter what. And if I am not receiving a reward that matches the quality of work that I output, I need to find somewhere else that's willing to pay what the quality of work is worth. And if more people had that kind of a mindset, I think that everyone would be a lot better off, especially emotionally.
Oh, I completely agree, man. It's a weird dynamic having people control of you, I guess.
Yeah,
it's very odd, unnatural to say the least.
I would say so.
Yeah.
We're getting pretty close to time, so I'm gonna say as a last question for you, what has been a good lesson that you have learned, if not the best lesson that you've learned so far since you've started your journey as an entrepreneur?
As an entrepreneur as a whole.
Let's try both. Let's start out with an entrepreneur and then go as a whole.
Real quick, go back to the college part. I've learned a lot more from having my own business than being in college or school in any extent by any means. It's amazing how much you learn just by doing it.
Yeah.
Anyways, going back to what you just said, two things: fake it till you make it.
Okay.
That. That's a big one, man.
Yeah.
My mom always told me that, and it works. Just because it gives you the confidence to do it a lot of the times.
Now, define fake it, because I think there are some people who they hear that and they think like present a false quality that you're not delivering. So when you say fake it till you make it, try and like define what you are faking exactly.
I guess for me, like faking the confidence part, just like putting yourself out there, like, being in front of somebody's face with a camera is not who I naturally am.
Right.
Almost like lying to yourself, like faking it to yourself in a sense.
Kind of like taking a confidence loan from your future successful self.
Yeah.
Where it's like you are granting yourself the assumed quality of service professional that you can be if given the opportunity, and you are just engaging with people as if you were already there. Right.
And I think it comes in the sense also with when you're nervous or panicked, like especially with our jobs with a bunch of technology, there bounds to be some issue with it.
Yeah.
So I guess when that becomes an issue, just have the confidence or fake the confidence on just being like, oh, give me a second. I need like 2 seconds. Because I've seen a lot of I've done the same thing. Just freeze, just panic, and just like quickly get the shot and it's not a good shot at all, but your lighting is bad or whatnot. But just to get out of that situation, like take the shot. And it's something hard to grow out of. But that's another thing with fake it till you make it. Just,
even if it feels weird, as long as it's the correct thing to do, just
because I still have those moments, but I guess with anything, it just becomes more natural over time. It just becomes when you're taking portraits of people, it's about them, and you don't realize how little of a part of the day is about you. I mean, especially for the wedding. Like as a photographer, I always thought like my role was a lot more not important, but noticed. I guess you would say. And that's definitely not true at all.
Right. Oh man, everyone thinks that people pay attention to them more than they actually do.
Yeah.
It is such a funny thing about humanity where we get so self-conscious thinking like, oh man, these people are going to think I'm weird or that I'm letting them down. I've definitely had events where like some sort of thing went wrong. It didn't like stop anything in the event, but it was just under the quality threshold that I would prefer to deliver as a professional. And then at the end of the night, everyone was still like, man, it's such a great party. I'm definitely going to recommend you and everything else. I'm just like, I definitely am glad that, and this is true of all performing arts. If you make a big deal out of it, it becomes a big deal.
Yeah.
And then if you don't make a big deal out of it, it usually won't. Sometimes it depends on the thing. There are situations where there's just nothing you can do. But a lot of the times we make a bigger deal out of things than they actually are. And so, like you were saying, you have to get out of your own head and just say like, people aren't really paying as close of attention as you might think. And so it helps you to be a little less self-conscious about, obviously we want to make sure that we're living up to our own quality standards, and we want to make sure that as few problems happen as possible. Yeah. But for sure, we shouldn't look at it as like everyone has a pen and paper and they're just waiting for the next thing that the next time you mess up. Most people are actually really nice and understanding.
No, 100%. And like I've had that problem ever since I was little, like a big overthinker when I was a kid. And what's helped me is, I know it sounds awful, but trying to like remember something that another person did that might have been embarrassing, but like you can't, half the time you can't even remember. Like whenever you think about that embarrassing moment in middle school or whatnot, I always think like, all right, like, can you remember did anybody else do anything embarrassing? And I'm just like, no. And it's just like, you just don't notice it.
Right. Yeah. You just, there might be like one or two instances of something major that everybody in school knew about, but you won't remember like the time when somebody said, you too, when you said enjoy
or
your
called them
day
teacher mom or something.
Right, something crazy like that. Like you just don't remember any of those kind of things.
Yeah, but in the moment, that's it's devastating.
Such a big deal.
It's really like earth shattering to some degree.
We do have a few minutes left. Is there any sort of overarching like life lesson that you've learned on a more personal level, or would you say that kind of covers both?
Ever since I started like the photography journey, I know it sounds a little cliche, but if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Yeah. A point that's correct. I mean, in the moment and I'm shooting, I don't feel that, but when I'm editing, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, true.
But, jokes aside, editing is my least favorite part of the job in some aspects. But the creative part, when like that comes out and you actually get to make the picture what you imagined it would be, that's like almost magical in some sense. I'm a big believer on like just do what you love, like no matter how much you get paid for it. And I've always thought about myself as like making millions and like owning a yacht and whatnot. And now I'm just like, I'm fine with it, like not doing that, like and I never thought about like I would be fine not being super rich, but
you have found contentment.
Exactly. And that's a kind of beautiful thing to find so young,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's amazing. It's an amazing job path, and I'm so lucky for the people who have helped me throughout the way.
There's this Japanese concept, and I think I'm correct in remembering it, that's called ikigai.
Yeah.
Where it's the idea of the convergence of all of the different aspects of like what you are and who you want to be and what you want to be doing, that kind of stuff. I think it's your passion, your vocation, your mission, and then something else.
Yeah.
Where it's like when you find something that you can do where all of those converge, that's where you can really find like the most meaning and passion for life, basically. And so,
100%.
Yeah, that's awesome when you can find something like that.
Yeah. And I always thought like there was this stupid saying when I grew up. It was like, I'd rather cry in a Ferrari than a Toyota or something like that. And like I've came to that point, I'm just like, that is not true at all. Like you could be the loneliest person in the world and have like millions and millions of dollars, which is probably true in a lot of places. You know, Jeff Bezos is like, you know, on his second, third, fourth wife, and you know, she's still
and billions of dollars, and
you can't buy love.
Right.
Can't buy love, man.
You most certainly cannot.
You know, before we end, very funny story about like Jeff Bezos tried to marry Sophia. What's that girl's name from Modern Family? Sophia not Villa. No.
No, I'm not gonna be able to help you here.
I don't know. Anyways, the Spanish lady.
Yeah.
And very, very pretty. But he wanted to marry her and like offered her a bunch of stuff, blah, blah, blah. But she turned him down because she saw how many times he worked instead of being at like Christmas. And now he's with a woman that's trying to be like her.
There's a lot of scenes that they have put in that show, which is why I know it is, because I've seen a few of the clips of just different instances of them showing characters who choose the relationship building side, a choice. You know, they go down that path instead of the success and career path.
But not even that, like in real life, like with Jeff Bezos and her, like the actor.
Oh
yeah.
Oh, I didn't. Oh
yeah. Isn't that wild?
Yeah. No, I didn't. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah. But then there's like this whole conspiracy that his wife right now is like trying to look like her and whatnot. So she's doing all this plastic surgery and so yeah, it's awesome. But then there's this video of her and him at the like Oscars or something, and she's like just like gogging over what's his face, like it was either Matthew McConaughey or like Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah. It's just like, damn, man, that's rough. That's a brutal feeling right there.
It is a tragic place for a human to be, because you know that she is just all sorts of messed up inside.
Yeah.
You know, and just
and he is too.
Can't save her from that. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Can't help it. Well, Brooks,
it was great meeting you and talking with you again, man.
Thanks for giving me the time.
Yeah, 100%.
I look forward to the next time we work together.
Yeah, 100%. Roll the theme song.
Yeah. If you want to just tell the camera where people can find you, what your Instagram and website, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So my website's acaciacinematography.com, and same with all my social media, acacia_cinematography. Just message me and we'll figure something out.
All right.
Awesome.
Y'all have a great day. Thank you so much
for
being here. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.